What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are doing the best 7 records of the first 7 months of 2020. I picked these all out, and I want to share them with you. I'm joined by Dan Sant and Posy Chris, and we're going to go through all this stuff. Also, just want to say we sold through the first press of the Nardcore for Life compilation, but the second press is up for pre-order, so go to indecisionrecords.com and order that. The color for the second press is sick. It's a 50-50 Cardinal Gold for Nard High. And that's that. So again, go to indecisionrecords.com and order the Nardcore for Life compilation. And also get that Death by Stereo, get that tuning LP. You know you want them, dude. That tuning LP is especially sick. I fucking love it. And Death by Stereo always brings the heat. So you know what's up. Please support the podcast by subscribing to it wherever you listen to podcasts. Just smash that subscribe button, dude. You know, and also if you got extra time, give it a like. You can rate it, review it. That shit goes a long way to giving the pod some traction. So it is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, go to patreon.com/185 miles south. Become a monthly Patreon. These people keep the podcast alive. If I was losing money, I couldn't do it. So you can toss down $1, you can toss down a couple dollars, and it is much appreciated. Also, you can go to 185milessouth.com for every episode, including this one. There's a playlist. So you can listen to whatever we're talking about, kind of like brings you into the episode a little more. And this one, we're talking about the best 7 records of the first 7 months of 2020. They're all in there. They're all on Spotify. So that list is linked up. Check it out. And let's get on with the pod.
"185 Miles South", a hardcore punk rock podcast.
What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are talking about the best 7 records of the first 7 months of a terrible year, which is 2020. But these are the bright spots. This year has pretty much sucked for life, but for music, it's been pretty fucking good, you know? And I think it's building anticipation to see all this shit live. Hopefully we come out of it and figure shit out. Anyway, this week on the pod, you know him, you love him, Daniel Sant of Over My Dead Body. What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Also helping us out this week, we got Posy Chris from Champion and the new band Change. What's up, Chris?
How's it going?
Yeah. And we got to let's talk about Change just real quick. This podcast will come out on the 19th of August. We're recording it on the 13th. And we just got to say, go pre-order the Change record. And I know it's a hard band to Google. That's a true struggle. But you can go to revhq.com, and they have an exclusive press there. And where else can people go, Chris, to order this record?
Death Wish does all the distribution through React Records. But if you're on Instagram, check out Change Hardcore. If you're on Twitter, check out Change NWHC, like Northwest Hardcore, and you can get the links there.
Yeah, dude. So everyone handle that, because it's going to be one of the best records of the final 5 months of 2020. And but you're up against Retaliate, dude, so you might be fucked. Because that Retaliate's coming in November or December. We'll see.
Retaliate is the best.
You know.
Duh.
Dana, I just also want to like touch with you a little bit on like some bright spots of 2020. You do like a virtual DJing every Friday. Can you tell the people about that and where they can tune in?
Oh yeah. So my Instagram is at Southpaw Instagrammer. So like Southpaw Grammar, like the Morrissey record, but Insta is in there because it's Instagram and it's a very clever screen name. But
So every Friday at 6 p.m., I do different themed DJ sets, and I do them for charity. So tomorrow, which you won't be able to by the time you hear this, but doing one that's called England versus Scotland. So 5 bands from England, 5 bands from Scotland in a musical cup final. And then in the past, I've done, all kinds of themes, but since I've been doing it, myself and all the people who listen and donate, which has been so amazing. We've raised I think over $4,000 since COVID started on for different charities like SD Black Queer Housing, Glitz Inc., Oakland Animal Services, Homeless of Oakland. I can't remember off the top of my head, but please tune in 6 p.m. on a Friday. It's a good way to end your week and dance at home, and there's a little chat going in it, and usually I'm being burned by everyone in there. So if you want to come in and razz me, feel free.
Yeah, everyone's like, play more U2, dude. Come on. But yeah, the other thing that I think is awesome that's going on now is have you seen the stuff that the SOS Booking is doing? It's every week, every weekend they're doing live stuff of interviews, and they're going to be doing some live sets. So you can go to SOS Booking on Instagram and check out everything that they're putting on, because that's super rad. And it's this year's weird. It's a lot of downtime, but people are doing fucking interesting things, and it's fun to stay on top of. So just wanted to get that out there. Let's dive right in. I chose 7 records that I think are the best of the first 7 months of 2020. And if you disagree, blame Joe Rivas. No, you can blame me, because I chose these. Go ahead.
And if you do disagree, write down some of the things that you think people should check out, because share these ideas. It's great.
Yeah, send your lists, and I just thought it was fun to cut up the year, and I wanted to talk a little bit of positivity, because the year has been pretty rough on a lot of people, and just nice to dive into some stuff that I think is really awesome that came out in the first 7 months of this year. Let's jump right in. I think that the LP that got everyone it got kind of off, it caught everyone off guard, because they just dropped it with no pre-order or anything, and the first press sold out right away, is Gulch, and the Impenetrable Cerebral Fortress. And Daniel, this made your best of 2019 list, the tape. They had a couple songs on it, and those songs are also on this LP. But this LP is fucking punishing, and it's amazing that in 2020 or 2019 or whatever, a band can carve out a fresh new sound and style. And from all accounts, they're a wild live act. Can't wait for shows to start again to see it. But I love listening to this LP. I've listened to it a bunch of fucking times, and I think it's great. Daniel, let's go to you. What do you think about this one?
I think this is phenomenal. I think this is a really perfect record of wild aggression and really cool introspection when it comes to some of the lyrical content. What I find about their sound, to me, it's one part, I don't know, kind of blazing, straight ahead, thrashy hardcore, one part mayhem, a weird black metal part, and one part DB Discharge sound, just to this maniacal just bombastic hardcore blast. And what is it, about 17, 18 minutes for the whole LP, but you just start it again as soon as you're done. I really like this record, and I like the art. I like the the concept of what it is about, the impenetrable cerebral fortress. It's really cool.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about this record?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. My first impression when I heard this band was like initial, like the first few seconds, I was like, okay, they're kind of going for that gag thing that's kind of getting a lot of buzz, kind of like the SSD inspired mid tempo kind of 2-step kids doing somersaults, that kind of vibe. But you listen, it only takes you another 20 seconds or so for them to kind of show you, like, no, we got a lot more influences we're going to drop on you.
Yeah.
Daniel mentioned like there's like black metal, like, even some kind of death metal riffs, like there's straight up beat down parts. They really kind of run the gamut of influences, and the result, like sometimes having that many influences can sound like super disjointed, but like they do it well and they make it their own. And really, I think what ties it to get together is just like the rawness, and you take these different kind of parts and influences and you bring it together, and the result is like the gnarliest music you can think of, and it's awesome. On the LP specifically, like the last song, "Sin in My Heart," even kind of adds another element. Like it's almost kind of reminds me of like "Modern Life is War," kind of like a mid-tempo melody,
Like epic build-up, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it almost sounds like Interpol even, which is crazy. And then like, as opposed to like the Modern Life is War vocals would come in and Jeff's like super tortured style scream. Elliot's voice comes in and it's just like dripping with rage and disgust for the world, and it's awesome.
And it is kind of like the master opus of the record to end it with, a song that's twice as long as every other, the instrumentation on it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite song on it is the Cries of Pleasure, Heavenly Pain, that is like fully like discharged out,
Yeah, but it starts like
the drumming on that.
It starts
so
like full
sick.
black metal though. Like
like
the black metal shit. It's like, oh shit, dude, we're gonna have to dig up Euronymous and fucking stab him again. Like shit's going down. But yeah, then it goes like full wild style. I agree with like the last song on the record being like so epic. This is not a direct comparison, but do you remember like the Suicide File LP? Like the last song was like the fucking slow one, and like really like you already had a special record that would be like a great record on its own, but then it's like, oh, they dip their toes in this other shit and fucking knocked it out of the park too. And it's like you take a record that's like a 8 or a 9, and then that stamp on it like is like, this is a fucking special ass record,
Yeah, that I'm fucking free.
Yeah. And this is like that, dude. Like that song, "The Sin in My Heart," is so fucking good. And what a great stamp of just taking a little bit of I don't know, it's weird because there is so much emotion coming out in all these songs, but it's like a thriving rage. And they did such a great job with the recording, like keeping it raw enough, but then like it has enough power in it that when they hit like a mosh part, it's not like, ooh, that sounds kind of thin, or I don't hear something or whatever. Like, I don't know, man. They struck gold on this one. Every single bit of hype.
Absolutely.
Yeah, every single little bit of hype is like deserved. It's kind of like, when American Nightmare like hit with like the LP, and it was just like, man, you might like it, you might not, but you cannot fucking deny that this is like something special,
The production on it is fantastic, I feel.
It sounds amazing.
Like you said, there's thickness and, it's rounded out really well, but his vocals still sound like he's screaming in a shed in Scandinavia. Do you know what I mean? Like on a blown out mic at some points, it's like just so like it's limiting, like on the mixing board, like crazy, like it's way in the red, and it adds to it.
Yeah, I think what's cool though is like some of the styles that they're drawn from, like the production tends to be like a little bit more like less present, like more like it sounds like it's in a cave. And this sounds like this is super present. Like there's like the vocals will rip right through you. You know, it doesn't sound like it's you know, like there's a bunch of reverb on it, and I think that's one thing that really makes it stand out is like the vocals kind of, you know, and the guitars that just kind of reach into you and like tear you apart.
Yeah. And the artwork is so cool.
Yeah, the art is awesome.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Chris.
Zach touched on this, but like they are one of the best live bands you can see today. Like I saw them at Gilman. Yeah, with some good friends from the Bay, and they played with Down to Nothing and Judge, who, I mean, Down to Nothing has been like one of the best live bands you could see for years and years and years, and Judge is, you know, one of my favorite bands of all time, and like quite honestly, they opened the show and blew both of those bands like off the stage, which is really not an easy feat.
They really did. And the singer Elliot just put the crowd in the palm of his hand type shit. Like just it was fucking rad, and it was awesome to see them. I've seen them a couple times, and each time I'm struck by the just the wildness of it all. You know, it's wild in the most perfect way.
Yeah, Mike Judge should have stormed out there and taken his shirt off too and commanded the stage back. So this is my night, motherfucker. You know, but it didn't happen. They're not a shirtless band, except for Porcel. Yeah, I love this record. I think this list is in no particular order, but got to talk about this one out the gate. Is there anything else you guys want to say on this, or should we move on?
Pick it up, listen to it on Spotify, and enjoy it.
Yeah, this came out on Closed Cascade Activities, so you can find it there or wherever, and you listen to it on Spotify. We'll put the link in the show notes, and it'll be in the playlist for the episode. Actually, we'll just put it in the playlist for the episode, so you can listen to it there if you haven't for whatever reason. Moving on, also, Northern California brought it strong in the first 7 months of this year. This is another standout record that a lot of people were super fucking fired up on. Again, great live band by all accounts. I'm talking about Drain from Santa Cruz, California. The LP is California Cursed, and it's Revelation Records putting out good hardcore, which has got to make you happy to see. Daniel, what do you think about this record?
This record is a bit harder for me to get my head around because they bounce around in the song, within the song structure of each song, whereas Gulch, I feel like it's a bit more seamless. In the Drain stuff, it's like, wow, this riff is next after that one. Whoa, my head's blown. You know, like I think you described it as when this first came out, like this is YOLO hardcore. Like we're just doing whatever we want. We're playing every riff we want, you know. And it kind of has that, but it is a ripping, like blazing, fast and hard record. Really cool breakdowns, great vocals. I've seen them only once, unfortunately, but the live show was fucking awesome. Kids were unbelievably psyched. I'm excited for this record, and the artwork is really cool too. What do you think, Chris?
I love it. I love this band. You know, I have kind of a funny comp for them that just kind of struck me the other day. You know, on your podcast with Dave Mandel, he talked a little bit about how Death by Stereo is kind of a band that created this genre, like their own kind of sound that no one is able to duplicate because they don't have the chops to do it. And I think Drain, like they don't have the singing parts that Death by Stereo does, but like it doesn't sound like Death by Stereo, but I think it's comparable in that you have this, you know, it's hardcore, it's raging hardcore, it's kind of crossover influenced, it's got these super talented like Iron Maiden riffs that are just infused into it, and then you have like the really present like screamed vocals that are like, you know, sounds like he's bleeding from the throat or like gargling bleach before he sings, and in that way, it kind of reminds me of Death by Stereo minus the singing stuff. And live, you know, it's kind of funny because he, I can't remember the dude's name. The singer kind of reminds me of Ephraim a little bit. Like, he kind of reminds me of a mix between Ephraim and Ryan Control. Like, you know, he's got that kind of like Ryan, like surfer crazy dude that will just do anything vibe. And then like in between songs, he's super stoked. And like I like to say about Drain, like I've seen him a few times and like, there's no one that's more psyched and about being at a Drain show than the singer of Drain. Like there's no one that's having more fun in that set than him. And I think that's super sick. And Ephraim was kind of the same way, where he had this just like the joy that he had while he was on stage was like super infectious. And I think it's rare to see that joy for hardcore, you know, music that isn't really synonymous with joy. It's more synonymous with rage and like disgust. So I think it's just a cool vibe, and I dig it.
Yeah, I think that infectious is like a good word to use. And like you're talking about, it's weird to circle around a word like joy for hardcore, but maybe it is like, because this shit is so spastic, you know, like it's just wild and all over the place. And I want to talk about the recording a little bit, because it lands so good when they do like the crossover elements. Like when it goes fast, it's just like, oh shit, like this is fucking perfect. But it's crazy, like trying to wrap my head around what this sounds like, because yeah, it's kind of crossover, but they switch in and out of tempos like so spastically, which I think is maybe what like how you're getting that Death by Stereo rub. But also they settle into the mosh like really comfortably. In fact, if I was going to say what element this album gives me the most of, I think it is still the mosh. And it's such a interesting approach to take, because the recording is not, they're not going for heavy, even though they are leaning heavily into that mosh. And it's interesting because it's obviously deliberate. You know, they went to Taylor, who is a fucking beast. You know, this band is a beast. So it's like a deliberate decision to sound like this. And it's what gives it like that cool, interesting sound. There's another record that I'm going to talk about that does a similar thing coming up. But I think that this Drain record, it sounds like nothing else, which is just fucking ridiculous when you think about the history of hardcore, that someone can like carve out a niche this late. And that's what makes it so great. And then also just matched by the art and so forth is rad. The only knock I would give on the record is I could do without an intro. I just think get right into it, you know, but otherwise fucking sick. Anything else on this record, guys, or go on?
I love like intros and stuff like that are designed to bring you to the concept of the record and what is trying to be put across, you know. So I feel like that's the, as you would put it, the sizzle.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes you know,
that's cool. I mean, obviously people like it, you know, because it's a very prevalent thing. And a couple of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, Set It Off. There's a fucking intro on there. You know what I mean? I wish there wasn't. You know, that would be like the one knock I'd have on that record. You know, I just wish it kicked off. You know, instead of listening to the street for 30 seconds or whatever.
We don't think.
Yeah, and then there's also We Don't Fake It, We Just Take It. Yeah.
Which is tight.
There's also I'm From the Neighborhood. Same thing, right? But could have done
What's
without
the
that too.
next word to that?
What?
Vegetables.
Yeah.
Vegetables?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, super cool, rad fucking record. Everyone get it. It's on Revelation. So you can get it there. Also, check out the playlist for this pod.
And Kerrang magazine ranked the singer as one of the top 10 hardcore frontmen going today. The UK metal mag, Kerrang. So
that's rad.
it's pretty awesome that they're getting like recognition like that. And to go off of what Chris said, like, yeah, there's a vibe at their shows that is just having the best time, and people like moshing hard, but like in the most friendly way, if if that makes sense. Because it all comes from the vibe put out by the band, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and you should be stoked on your band, right? And we talk about like, him being infectious and wanting to like, he's getting back what he's given out, And
Yeah.
I just think it's fucking rad when people love their band. I think it's always been a knock, like since I can remember. People be like, "Oh, you listen to your own band a lot? Like that's kind of cheesy." Or like you'd get a knock on like when dudes are wearing their own band shirt. I fucking love it. I think that like if you don't ride for your band, like first and foremost, then like why should I care about it? If you're not obviously like loving it and backing it, why should I care? So I love when people rep their band, think it's the best band on earth. And that's one thing about hardcore that I love and also think that we could do a little more of is a lot of times people don't like take credit and be like, I'm the shit. Like we're fucking the best, and I like a little bit of that. That's one of the things I love about hip hop, is like that bravado and people like saying like, I put a lot of work into this and I'm fucking talented. I'm the shit. I like that, and so
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little bit more of that, like that confidence.
Let me get this straight. The singer of Retaliate likes when people think their bands are the best. Respect.
So yeah, Drain, California Curse, Revelation Records. You already got it probably, but if you don't, check it out. Moving on. Rotting Out, Ronin LP on Pure Noise Records. This is the third LP from Rotting Out and possibly their best. Talking about confidence again, this thing, I think I talked about it on the Todd Jones second podcast, but when I listen to this thing, it just fucking oozes confidence in the songwriting. Like, it's almost like I picture what the crowd would be doing at this part of the song. Like they're almost writing for that because like they know. They're like, I'm going to write this part, the crowd's going to lose their shit, and that's that. But then you can peel back another layer and, lyrically, this goes like way deeper. It's very personal, which is fucking awesome to like put yourself out there like that, like wear your fucking heart on your sleeve. And third LP for a hardcore band without like singing vocals, that is a fucking challenge. And these guys knocked it out of the fucking park. One of the best records, maybe their best record, which is, it's just an awesome feat. What did you think about this, Chris?
I love, I think it's an awesome record. I love that they, like everything that this band did well, they kind of like they exponentially like did that harder, like their SoCal hardcore fast parts, they made even more like SoCal hardcore, like the thrashy parts, they made even more thrasher, like the mosh parts are even moshier, like it's like everything
Now
like
improved mosh.
turned up to 11. Yeah. But I think what always really like what really stands out to me about this band is the lyrics, and I'm saying that with the recognition that all the other stuff is awesome. And so like, again, like with how awesome everything is, the drums, the guitars, the bass, and then to have the lyrics be even stand up above that is quite a feat. Like Walter, he pours a soul into his lyrics like very few people are able to do. When bands like No Reply say, I want your guts, like that's what I love about hardcore, like people that are able to like literally pour their souls into it, and to do that and not make it sound cheesy is hard to do. Like like I've sang in a band and I've written lyrics, and it's hard, man. It's hard to say stuff that's like super personal without it sounding like cheesy. And he just crushes it. The lyrics to the last song, Boy, like just holy shit, man. Like, wow.
Yeah, Daniel, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm so glad Chris touched on the lyrics, because I think the lyrics are, I mean, up there with, Mount Rushmore style lyrics.
Agreed.
They are, like he says, so personal. Like the song Unforgiven. Well, first of all, the sound of the song Unforgiven is so cool with those hymnal like backups, and the sound of that song is such a different like direction that they take from the way the record is unveiling, and then you get to that song and it's like, whoa. But the lyrics on it about being, beaten as a kid, and it is created like a minefield of insecurities in yourself, and he's a big like buff dude, and he has the line in there that says, I'm only so big so I can carry all my insecurities. Like, what a fucking line! That's like, from a different pace, but that's up there with like Nick Cave and Morrissey. I'm not being hyperbolic. Like, there's so much introspection in there that is really fantastic, and the fucking songs are great. I slept on this when it came out. I didn't check it out right away. I was like, oh, they're reuniting and doing a record. Like, I'll get to it, And then I'm so glad that I've spent like the last couple of weeks with this LP, because it's really, really good, and I think it is their best record. And I love to bring the concept of all the personal things about the way he grew up, and obviously grew up tough, and showing the apartment on the album cover and everything. It just really allows you to go to a place that maybe you didn't experience but understand it. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a plus hardcore effort. It's something that our genre should be very proud of, that a record like this has come out.
Yeah, I love the cover. I just right now, like, I'm going through a phase where I'm just sick of art. And it's cool. I love the cover. Like, I don't know. I guess it was because I was trying to figure out a cover for our album, and it was like, I don't want art. Like, I want something like a little more visceral, and this is great. Also, the album just fucking sounds great. The drum sounds so fucking good, and it just drives everything through. And of course, lyrically is great, but Walter's voice is a little different on this record. And we've talked before about me being like a late buy-in on American Nightmare, but loving the LP because his voice is so shredded.
Yeah,
I love that his voice is just so like kind of shredded on this record. Like, it's just it's undeniable, right? I love like singers where it's like maybe someone could almost be turned off by the voice, because it's like then you're really putting yourself out there, like,
well,
you're not. Go ahead.
Voices like these are what become the acquired taste, which make them so much more special once you've acquired the taste. You know what I mean? Like, his voice sits high in the register, like it's a high register voice, sits over the top of the music because it's at such a different pitch, kind of, and like you say, it's undeniable. Like it you have to love it, and it is very, very great.
He also does some like, he makes some kind of interesting choices that make it sound real cool too. Like, there's some singy parts, and they're a little bit higher like higher notes than like a lot of like hardcore people would try to sing, just because like the higher you get, like the more likely it is to get away from you. And he maintains like his kind of like like his growly scream through it as he pushes it up higher, and it's like it feels like it's on the verge of getting away, which like creates this tension that is really cool. But like like he doesn't like fall off of the tune, but there's like this tension, like it almost might, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, you can't accuse him in any aspect of playing it safe. Like I think that's one of the reasons why this record is so great, is just because they're an established band now. They could just put out a record and be fine. And in a normal year, just like continue the cycle of touring or whatever, playing shows. But they fucking went for it with this record, and not to say it for the millionth time, but like they knocked it out of the fucking park, and without playing it safe, taking stabs, taking risks, and just fucking doing it. It's also a little similar to Drain in the way that there's some like heavy mosh shit on this record, but the recording is not like heavy. So it's cool. It's like this sound that's evolving right now of bands that are like doing big mosh parts, but not like leaning into drop tuning and like really distorted guitar stuff. Like it's like a rhythmic thing. And it almost makes it like, like dancing is like kind of, you go back, you talk about it like kind of tribal in a way, and like kind of taking out like the metallicness, but still hitting the big breakdowns. Like it makes it like just more rhythmic. Like you're settling into like the tempo change instead of like that it's a big chunky part. And I think it's a rad approach, and I think that Drain and Rotting Out both do it really well.
What's great about that, and that you frame that, is perfect, because it's almost like a return to I don't know, Chain, Sick of It All, those kind of things, where the mosh, it's not anti-beatdown. There's still elements of the way that the beatdown, like, mosh parts are framed, but it is, like you say, it is kind of the synthesis of old hardcore and new hardcore, and a new path is being forged by touching on both elements.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally. I think that's a great way to put it.
And the thing I just want to mention about this record is it seems like there are records where you see a band is progressing and they're newer and they're okay. We're going to just get together 8 songs and we've got our LP ready, or we've got 10 songs, we'll put it out. And then there are bands that sit, plot, and formulate what this artistic offering is going to be. And this record is definitely, it was thought about very, very hard at the beginning of writing the songs, and also editing and coming back to it. You can just tell it is like, the band is like, this has to be everything that we can possibly give, and we have to craft it in such a perfect way. And Chris touched on the last song, but that song, Boy, I mean, the guts and the honesty to talk about being molested as a child, and the poetic nature that it comes out is just, I mean, I think it is amazing, and it's a really, really great, contribution to Bearing Your Soul, and just lyrically, like, thank you to them for like sharing, and thank you to Walter for sharing, like something so, for lack of a better term, heavy, and getting it off his chest, and hopefully it's helping him heal.
Yeah, it's the apex of like what you can do within like this artistic space, right? Like,
Yeah.
he just fucking did it. You know, he was able to go there and did it justice. You know, put it out there. Absolutely amazing. This record rips. It is rotting out. The LP is called Ronin. It was on Pure Noise Records, and you can check it out in the playlist for this episode, or you can get it wherever you buy music. Chris, anything else on this before we move on?
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Okay. Let's go to a band that's unapologetic about the mosh and is not shying away from being metallic or beat downy or whatever. It's Tsunami, and it's Tsunami doing the so they did a new 7-inch. I think it's Tsunami self-titled, and then they have their demo that they put out before. They put them both on an LP, which is everything I want, because I don't want a fucking 7-inch. I'm sick of the format now, and I don't want a demo. I want an LP, dude. I want a big piece of music in front of me. So I love this band. I love that they put it all on the format I want, and it's like every song they got so far, fucking awesome. On Creator Destructive Records. And this band they're bringing it, dude. You know, I love like the impetus of this genre. You know, I was riding for and loving Bulldoze in the 90s, and like this is where the music has evolved to, that like lane of hardcore, and these guys do it great. It's creative, it's fun to listen to, just like Bulldoze was, like hitting like all the different tempos, catchy lyrics like that are memorable. You know, like I think that like the lineage is there. These guys do justice to the style, keeping it catchy in the music and in the singing, and just knocking this fucking genre out of the park. Let's go to Daniel. What do you think about this?
Congratulations to them. They just signed with Triple B for what's coming in the future.
So sick. I can't wait to hear that recording and just what they do there with that.
Yeah, and the new recordings of the songs that are on the 12-inch, they sound so good. Like, they sound really great. It's funny that, you know, you brought up Bulldoze, because this is like really embracing beatdown, almost to the point where you can see that there's a nod and a wink. What's really cool about it is that Bulldoze was, you know, 100% serious, and Tsunami's tongue is firmly in the cheek, but the lyrics are still fucking great and make you want to sing along like crazy. I think Joseph's voice is fucking sick. Like, it goes really well with the whole sound of the band, and I love that, you know, it's so anti-police, anti-snitching, calling out people for being pathetic and lame, and it's fucking rad. It's everything that, if you want to get hype and go fucking nuts at a hardcore show, well, this is the band for you. Like, this is custom made to be amazing, and they played one show,
Yeah,
which has gone worldwide, you know.
yeah. I just to jump in on you real quick, like just the fucking name alone is so good, you know, and then to spell it wrong too, just to like up the ignorance, like, oh my god, it tickles me so hard, and like it has never gotten old, you know, like every time I look at it or think about it, it still like makes me like giggle, you know.
Yeah, and the artwork is incredible. You know, the graffiti, it's celebrating everything that is in people's record collections, mashed together, bringing back a style, and yeah, like you say, the celebration of ignorance, but in a very clever way, is what makes them so cool. Like, misspelling "your" in the YAB song is so. I mean, it it still makes me laugh. Like you said, it does you. Like, everything about that makes me die laughing, and especially just the misspelling of you.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
it's so subtle, right? Like they're not
Yeah.
they've settled into this place where like everyone knows what it is now, like, but they're not heavy-handed with it. Like they're still letting it like roll.
Mhm.
Oh man, it gets me. Chris, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I got a quick question. So, like, Daniel, you mentioned that the tongue is firmly in cheek, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't really know these dudes, but like, they're not. It's not a spoof. Like, they're students of the game and fans of this style, and they do it justice. With a like a nod and a wink, like you said, but it's not like them spoofing. It's not like, you know,
It's not good, clean fun. It's not good, clean fun. It is. No, this is fucking hard shit. But
by people that like the style too and respect it, right? Mhm.
Well, it's the dudes from Hands of God, right? Daniel?
yes,
Yeah, I think some of them.
Yeah.
it's I think almost the whole band with Joseph,
Yeah.
legendary timeless barista on vocals.
And that band is hard as fuck, like in its own right. And I think that's like kind of what gives it credibility. Like it's not dudes goofing on the sound or goofing about hardcore. Like I hate joke hardcore. I hate joke hardcore shit. You know, I think of this as more of like how Daniel said, it's like paying respect to like some of the records we all got in our collection. You know, like they're students of the game and fans of it, and like so having it be like the Hands of God dudes, like they're already like kind of playing the sound anyway. Like that band brings it, dude. They got hard fucking riffs. I love all their material, you know? And so like this is related to that, and I think it gives it like the credence of why like, oh, this band rips instead of like, oh, it's silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, for every YAB, you know, like there's especially how topical it is at this point in this year of like fascists and fascist police and stuff like that, and just going hard at the authorities is fucking sick. You know, threatening multiple accounts of violence on police is very awesome to see. Like hooded, I mean, everyone loves the hooded Mosher hardcore design in hardcore, but to see them like choking out a cop is just, it's awesome.
Oh, Daniel, you like the hooded cartoon figures? Huh? I would have never guessed that, given your given the artwork on the Over My Dead Body 7-inch.
You know, it's been known to be effective.
It's fucking timeless, dude. It's great.
Yeah,
Chris,
No doubt.
how do you feel about this record and the songs?
Yeah, so there were times in my life, like certain years, depending on what was big at the time, where this might not have resonated with me, but like I feel like right now it's like a perfect time and a perfect place for this band to happen. Like there's such a void in this style of music and this style of like celebration of the ignorant. And I say that in a respectful way, but like this took me back to like, you know, Grange Halls in Vacaville in like 99, or like, you know, seeing shows in Burnt Ramen in Richmond. Like this is a style of hardcore that's like so deeply embedded into the DNA of the Bay Area. And
for real.
And I think it's sick that they're doing it, and they're doing it awesome. And while I'm on the topic of the Bay Area, we've gone through 4 bands, and 3 of them have been from like San Jose, Santa Cruz area, and that's crazy. Like there's something in the water there right now, and if you don't know, like you will know. That's sick. But yeah, to me, this just, you know, it brings me back like vivid memories of like 3/4 sleeve shirts with like brass knuckles on them, and like Castro mosh hats, and like, you know, kids doing I don't know if you guys got this down in SoCal as much, but like the California Bear Claw was like the patented NorCal, like it's kind of like a reverse windmill thing, and it's cool, man. Like this this band is like perfectly ignorant. Like for anyone from like my generation, like, you know, if you loved seeing like the Hoods or Low Life or Sworn Vengeance in the Bay, or like in North Philly seeing like Clubber Lang or Dysphoria, like this band's for you. And it's cool. I think, you know, Zach, you touched on this, but they do it with such a creativity too that is really fun. Like some of my favorite parts are like the guest vocal parts that almost like walk on Joseph's vocals. Like it almost makes it feel like it's fallen apart for a second. Like it's a live show and someone jumps up on the stage and grabs a mic and just starts yelling something into it, you know? And it's cool. It kind of reminds me of like Hard Skin a little bit in that way, where it's just like there's like chaos, you know? And I think it's tight.
I think Hardskin is such a right on like comparison, because we were saying it's not making fun of things, it's celebrating things, and that's what Hardskin does, you know. Like for Oi, it's like, let's write these perfect Oi songs but have a little, you know, fun with it at the same time. I think that's what Tsunami does really well. And yeah, the guest vocal drops are almost like Public Enemy, where like Professor Griff would be like, do his part like almost through a bullhorn or something, you know, in the middle of a song. That's how some of the guest vocs come across on this. Like they just kicked in the door of the studio and just started singing their part, and then you know, pieced out like immediately. It's really cool. And yeah,
I also love the fake beef with Gulch. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Agreed. They even drop like, a Gulch hoodie line in one of the songs.
It's like, fuck you and your Gulch hoodie.
Yeah, I wish
awesome.
I wish they didn't break kayfabe on that. Should have just kept it going. But yeah, the guest spot on that demo song where the dude comes in at the end, it's like like I can't even do it, dude. It's like
it reminds me of that Trapped Under Ice song that the dude from Stout sings on.
Yeah, that guy's got a great voice. Yeah. The dude from Stout has a sick voice. But this guy's just like going for fucking ridiculous. You know, like
the most Cookie Monster of like to actually sound like Cookie Monster instead of like what people think like Cookie Monster vocals are. It's like, no, this actually sounds like Cookie Monster.
Yeah, it's not Chris Barnes, dude. It's actually the Cookie Monster. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Oh, it's so ill. It's just another thing that, like, I don't know. They just have the right approach to it, and I think they're coming from the right space where they pull it off. Where if someone else did it, it would just be ridiculous. You know, but like this, it's ridiculously awesome. So, yeah, I love this. And go ahead, Daniel.
And the singer Joseph is an amazing dog sitter as well.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah, that rules. We love people that love animals, so treat them good. And yeah, and I just love that this was released this way. This is exactly what I want. And I want to talk about another one that they did a similar thing. It's the Stepping Stone LP called Escape from the Junkyard on Safe Inside Records. Shout out to Bert and Aaron. And
shout out.
Yeah, it's a similar approach. Like, so this band, they had like a previous like digital only LP or EP, and it was like really good and it hadn't come out. And they put that and they put like new songs, like enough material for an EP, put them together onto a 12-inch. And it's fucking awesome. It's like they put all the music into the format I want, and I support that. Like, that's just a great way to do it. Listening to this record, again, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm terrible at explaining what things sound like. But we've done a pretty good job so far, I think. But listening to this, I was like, man, it's not this, and it's not this, and it's not this. And I was like, maybe I'm just fucking overthinking, like, this is just great, no frills hardcore. Like, this is just hardcore music done well, creative, hitting on all tempos, and just like good on all cylinders. And I've listened to this a lot. You know, I chose it, but then I listened to it a lot while prepping for it. And it's like, this is a rare record that I listen to the whole thing and I'm never bored. although like nothing is super standing out to me a way that I can like hammer into talking about it, like maybe saying like the Drain record I think like leans towards mosh, or we can say like the Rotting Out lyrics are like fucking next level. But this is just like, man, this is good fucking hardcore that like I'm listening to every piece of every song the whole way through. I'm not bored. I'm not like, oh, they should have plucked out this song or this song. It's just a good, solid record. And what do you think about it, Chris?
Yeah, the way I would describe it to someone who hasn't heard it before is like if you took No Warning and like added like a touch of crossover flair, but you played it with like a total Camaro rock attitude. Like it's just got this like badass attitude, you know?
Camaro rock.
Yeah, dude. Like not necessarily the sound, but like, you know, you put a Def Leppard fan in a T-top, you know, with his mullet blowing in the wind, like that's the attitude, and it's so tight.
Yeah.
I think the 7-inch rules. Like the more, like every time I listen to it, like I like it more. I feel like this is a band that if they were from like Southern California or Boston or Florida, like places that had, you know, bigger hardcore scenes, like, you know, instead of Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, like I feel like they'd be huge. Also, like some of the Swedish kids, like total kind of stereotypical Canadian politeness, you know, like the sweetest kids you'll meet. And I think it's just sick to see them. It made me really hyped for them just to hear this and to hear how good it is. And like, hopefully eventually they'll be able to like tour on it.
Yeah, you mentioned the 7-inch. Is that different, or did I fuck up and that's on here?
I don't know. I'm just calling it a 7-inch, but
Oh, word. Okay. Sick.
the record that looks like a Dungeons and Dragons cover.
Okay. And we should say this album cover is something else. Everyone needs to Google it. Stepping Stone Escape from the Junkyard LP. It is something. Daniel, what do you think about this?
I think there definitely is a crossover vibe with this band. Like, you know, going off of some of the bands du jour that do it so well. This is not like as going for the solo type stuff as much, but it is that crossover sound and production on the vocals is definitely there. But I loved it. Like at first it didn't grab me, and I stuck with it a bit more because I knew we were going to talk about it. And then I ended up like really, really listening to it a lot in the build up to this. Especially the intro is so interesting because it's almost like an homage to like Enter the Sandman, Metallica, but done in a very different and muted hardcore way. Like, listen to it again and then think Enter Sandman and be like, oh, maybe he's right. Or listen to it and go, Daniel, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, the cover does give you that feeling of like that semi-truck like barreling down on you, right?
Yeah, the great thing about the LP artwork is it looks like a 1980s horror fantasy movie,
Yeah.
you know? Like, gives you like Maximum Overdrive meets The Howling or something.
Oh,
you know, it's
oh yeah,
super crazy. And then, you know, like all good bands, including your buddies, they have the chromed out logo. You know.
Yeah, let me try. Let me just try to describe the album cover for the people. So anyway, everyone Google it. But it's like a giant wolf like coming through a cityscape, and then what did you say, Daniel? Like chromed out lettering up top.
Yeah,
like kind of a type of tagging, and like chromed out, and then fucking there's like 2 Grim Reapers on the bottom, like on each side of like a car. I don't know, dude. It's like it's crazy.
Someone had fun creating this.
Yeah.
And if that's on a t-shirt, I want it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and the color
like
scheme
an
is
all over print.
yeah, it has to be like almost on a tie dye shirt because like the background colors too of like the purple into the pink, back into the purple, and then the Reapers at
Yeah.
the bottom. Like, it's fucking beautiful, dude. Like, I want to frame it. You know?
Yeah, it's sick. And the one that Chris was talking about with the demon with the wings and
Yeah.
Unreal Form,
hmm
that one is wild artwork too.
Yeah. Yeah, I said the one that looks like Dungeons and Dragons, which is actually kind of both of them, but yeah, Escape from the Junkyard is the one I'm talking about, the newer one, and yeah, we're on the same page. It rips.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Demon with the Wings is the one I was talking about. That also like those songs appear on this
Yeah.
record, but it
Yeah.
only came out like digitally and as a cassette tape. So
Mhm.
it's rad to get it documented on an LP. This is the greatest
Yeah.
fucking idea, you know. Like there was like it was kind of a thing in the '90s. Like you know, Floor Punch did like their demo, and then they did a 7-inch, and then they put them both out on an LP. Like that's fucking awesome.
Twin Killing.
Yeah, yeah. And then 10 Yard Fight, it was the same thing, but I think it only came out as CD. Like they put out the 7-inch and the demo together on CD.
Yeah, they like extend the 7-inch to make it a CD and add all those extra tracks, I think.
Right, right. Yeah, it's like I love the idea, especially here, like getting down to the 12-inch format.
You guys see the art for Soul Division too, which it looks like is just a single, but that's pretty awesome too. It's like a BMX, like a dirt bike with a skull behind it, and the skull has like snowboarding goggles, and there's like lightning behind that. It's pretty awesome too.
Is it from the same band?
Yeah, it looks like a single that came out in 2019.
I don't see it on their
Soul
Discogs.
Division.
I don't see it on their Discogs. They got to update their own Discogs, man. What the fuck?
It was Spotify exclusive.
Oh shit, Spotify exclusive. So anyway, everyone check that out. Anything else on this before we move on?
It's no, but they're on such a great label.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Safe Inside Records, Bert and Aaron doing it, putting out nothing but good shit. And you can buy all the Safe Inside Records stuff through Death Wish or go to safeinsiderecords.com and yeah, check it out. They're doing good shit.
Yeah, check this.
Go ahead.
I would say check this out. Like the other records that we've talked about so far, I feel like are probably records that like 99% of the scene has heard. But like, yeah, I bet there's a lot of people that are listening right now that haven't heard of this band from Saskatchewan, and they're every bit as good as any of the ones we talked about. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, check it out, and it'll be in the playlist for the episode as well. Moving on. This is a record. It came out earlier in the year, and I didn't see that much hype about it, but I think it's fucking awesome. The band is called The Fight. It's the Endless Noise LP on Triple B, and this fucking band, dude. If I could be like 17, 18 again, and like, you know, drinking tall cans in the parking lot with my friends, this is like the number one band I want to slam to. Like the drum beats they hit on this, like the dude is like obviously good, but it's just like these igno beats where it's just like made for circle pitting, you know? And like these songs are just so infectious and good and catchy. I fucking love it. What do you think about it, Daniel?
Yeah, I think what I love about this is it's coming at hardcore from a viewpoint that I very much like, which is the punk, like celebrating the punk in hardcore. And this band is doing it perfect. Like they are referencing, basically this band is like if you mixed kind of Negative Approach and Infest with UK 82 and like doomy, crusty UK punk. Like I think that's just a good, all of those ingredients in a blender. This band sounds like what the smoothie that comes out the other end is. I feel how the art and the intro at the beginning, and everything just sums up that political punk and hardcore raw aggression and Infest, like, and actually saying something and conceptualizing your band to put that forward is really great, and I think the record is awesome. I think, like you said, the drumming is incredible. It gives it that fully, almost like crusty vibe to the hardcore riffs that are going on, and then the vocals are very pulling from all those influences that I talked about, but Infest being a big one. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, this is one that I had to kind of go back and listen to again. Like I listened to it when it first came out, or listened to a couple songs when it first came out, and didn't really revisit it for a while. Not for any reason, just you know, there's so much good music out there. It's hard to really give time to it all. But I went back and listened to it more for this conversation, and it's really good. Like you know, Daniel kind of hit the nail on the head for everything. I think it's just really cool. It's got like the heaviness of like a modern hardcore band, you know, but with kind of that punk sensibility and you know, like the 82 UK like definitely shines through. I think there's times where it almost reminds me of like this is a bad comparison, but there's something that reminds me of a little bit of like Tragedy, you know, like strip out all the melody, or a lot of the melodies, but there's just kind of a vibe and an attitude that reminds me a little bit of them. My only complaint on this is I think it's probably a conscious decision for style, but I don't really like how the vocals are mixed. Like, I think the dude has a really cool voice and has that edge that I look for in this style of music, but it feels like it's we talked about Gulch and Drain, like those are two vocals styles, like where the mix is like super present in the mix. And I feel like the way the vocals are mixed in here are just a little bit more like, almost like put back into a cave a little bit. And I think sometimes it's a thing that people do for vocals that don't sound as cool. But I think this guy sounds really cool. So, you know, it's probably just a conscious thing. And that's really more of a nitpick because I think this is really cool. And I'm kind of psyched to just listen to it some more and sit with it some more.
Yeah, the cover is interesting too, because like you have that like UK82 feel like inside the logo, but then like it's like that nice bright blue. So it's like it makes you feel different things like depending on where you look at the cover. You know, it's, I don't know, it's cool.
Like,
it's
like cool, it's got that darkness and the vibrance.
Yeah,
the blue.
Yeah,
it's a good call.
And I think that like the band exudes that as well. You know, like it's because if you're picking up like Tragedy and serious vibes, and I'm picking up like I just want to fucking slam vibes, like they're hitting on multiple multiple cylinders. Daniel, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think that Tragedy obviously was raised on a lot of the peace punk doom, crusty sounds that kind of go into making their sound, and I think that that's a good comparison, like a stripped down Tragedy without all the guitar pedals and effects, because it has that like insanely like brutal approach. It also, you know, you touching on, you know, the artwork is definitely you know, a nod to all those peace punk, cross punk bands that would, you know, use these kind of imagery. But I love the question mark on there to being just like, what is the fucking point almost, like, with this life? Like, we try and fight against all this stuff, and it just, that's the kind of vibe I get from it, and I feel this is a really cool one to have on the list. That's just offering something a little bit different. And to touch on what Chris was saying about the vocals, I feel like it is an aesthetic choice to make the vocals sound like old records almost. Like how badly some vocals were recorded back in the day. That it's almost like an aesthetic choice to we want it to sound like this or that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that they're a little bit too off the beaten path for the rest of the song, the rest of the music on there. But it's hard for me to be, talk about production and stuff like that because I don't really know too much about it.
I would think that it's definitely deliberate because this band seems to be functioning on all cylinders, right? Like the art and everything is so deliberate. I talked about the drumming, and it's almost like you feel like the drummer's playing more simple. Like it's like he's holding back. It's like I'm doing this beat because that's what suits the music, but it's like an oversimplified version. And I think that maybe the blending of the vocals could be like that as well. I definitely think it's deliberate, and it's what they're going for.
Yeah. And the second song, The New Aesthetic, the lyrics are so cool. Like talking about data mining and basically your DNA and your fingerprint and everything, by just doing those quick clicks of here's the terms and services. That you're just in the system now, and it's questioning that. And I think it's a really cool song to read the lyrics to for anyone out there that is wondering, what the kind of vibe is. I think it's there's a lot of clever lyrics on this, but I think that one is really interesting because it's commenting on things that are actively still unfolding in front of us day by day.
Yeah, well, while the band might be a stitch back to an older sound, the lyrics are still present and relevant. This fucking record rips. I love it. That's why it's on the list. But yeah, anything else on this before we move on to the final of the Super 7 of the best 7 records the first 7 months of 2020? The longest title ever. All right, let's just move on. The last one I got on the list is the Mind Force 12-inch EP, Swinging Swords, Chopping Lords, Triple B Records. This is one of the greatest bands of the last 5 years. The Excalibur LP is fucking so good. It's so good that Greg called it one of the best albums of 2019 when it came out in 2018. It's it just holds with you. It's guys again coming up with kind of a fresh sound, this late in the hardcore game, and not being super derivative, new sound, but also not being so outside the box that it's not hardcore. I love it. It reminds me so much of Iron Age in the way that they're dipping into metal, and you're this sounds so familiar. It just sounds familiar, but you can't put your finger on what it is. They're pulling these influences that sound so familiar to you, but doing such a new take on it. And so to me, it sounds almost like an Iron Age on steroids if they only listen to the Death catalog, because they're doing a lot of the Chuck notes and the way that he would play. That's where a lot of the dark lead stuff reminds me back of is the prime Death records. So yeah, the combination of those two bands, and it gets me in the right spot. I love it. I love 12 inches. I love the idea of fuck it, we only got 4 songs, put out a 12-inch. I think it's fucking ill, and obviously it's gone well for them. And it's just when you put out an LP a couple years ago, there's a pressure on bands to do another LP. Oh, it's 2 years, it's due for an LP, or it's 3 years, time for another LP. And I think that like that stuff gets so formulaic, and we got to remember like this is fucking hardcore. Like choose your own path. Whatever makes you happy and satisfies you like as an artist, that's what matters the most. And so if you got 4 fucking bangers, put them out. You know, you don't have to like toss 6 throwaway songs on there to make an LP. Like that's bullshit butt rock shit.
Thankfully they don't. Thankfully,
I know. That's why I love it.
Yeah,
I love
agreed.
it. Because remember, like, you know, maybe before you found this style of music and you listened to other styles of music, like when I was a child, I loved like bands like Motley Crue and shit. And you know, you'd hear the single on MTV or on the radio or whatever, and you're like, fuck, this rules. I want to get the CD. And you can't like preview the shit before. So you get a CD of certain styles of bands, and it's like, oh, there's a few good songs and there's a bunch of fucking trash. And it's because they're in that, like, they're in that lane where it's like, we got to put out a record every few years. So write a few hits, they'll be the singles, and everything else can be trash. But we get credit for putting out an LP. And it's like, hardcore's better than that. We don't got to do that shit. You know, put out good material when it's ready. You know, because like, also this is like palatable. You know, like Excalibur is a fucking classic, you know? And like, I don't know if we need 12 new songs. Like, I don't know if that would sink in as much. And I don't know if a band can produce that many good songs like back to back. So this record, they came out, they fucking put out 4 scorchers. Every song is fucking great. And it's like, oh, that's the fucking move. I love it. It's like just the right amount of material where it's like, I get new Mind Force songs. They're all good. It's what I expect from the band. And I was so like satisfied by this. I love it. I absolutely love it. Daniel, what do you think about this?
I agree. Less is more. Like, let that message ring out all over hardcore and in music in general. Just give us premium, amazing stuff. I think this is great because it's 4 songs. When you talk about the sound, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Daniel, you're breaking up just a tad. I'm gonna shoot off.
Is that better?
That is better.
Is that better?
Yep, way better.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I feel like this band has a very modern take on what a Leeway would sound like.
Definitely.
The way that the vocals sit in that almost reverbed position, just floating over the music almost. And it have a specific sound to the way that the vocal wants to come across. And I think it sounds really good. I love the almost Wu-Tang reference of swinging swords, chopping lords, very Liquid Swords-ish. And yeah, I really like it. And like you say, 4 songs that are all bangers, like, and the sound and the production is fantastic. It's a really, really great EP, and everyone should pick it up.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about this?
Daniel, I like that you called out Leeway, because I think Leeway is a band that gets a lot of comps nowadays, because I think a lot of people are dabbling into a little bit of crossover. And Leeway is, you know, one of the, you know, the Mount Rushmore of that style of hardcore. But I think Mind Force, more than, you know, 99% of the bands that get comped to Leeway, they're worthy of it, and not necessarily because they sound like a band that's just trying to rip off Leeway, but they just do it with an attitude and a vibe that rings true to that style, and I think it's really cool. You know, when I first heard Excalibur, I didn't really like it the first time I heard it. Like I was like, oh, this is cool, but I checked it out again. It took me a couple times to really kind of realize the genius of it. And And it's kind of funny you were saying, the best record of 2019 that came out in 2018, because that's kind of how it was for me. Like, I never really got into this band until like the next year. And it's like Excalibur was such an awesome LP. Like, it's probably one of my favorite LPs of the last, 5 years or so. And I think you guys have said everything really there is to say about, this follow-up. It's a worthy follow-up. Like, the songs are great. It's short and sweet. It's got all the stuff in the Mind Force formula that just makes them really cool, from, the riffs to the leads to the way his vocals fit. It's really cool. I hope I get to see him someday.
Yeah,
I saw him at. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go ahead,
I
Pat.
just want to say, like, the guitarist does like lots of like noodly stuff, but it's like so tasteful, and like for someone to like toss in like noodly shit and then have it not come off douchey is like so fucking rad. Like, this stuff is like, I just feel like it's crafted like almost down to like the second, Like,
yeah, and this is another band, like you were saying, that doesn't rely on heaviness to bring the mosh, which is cool.
Yeah, but they hit like such of those like dark, like the dark melodies, which the only other band I can think of is like Death, that like hits it so well, and it's like, it doesn't have to be heavy. Like, Death was a death metal band that like evolved out of that into like just a really technical metal band more than anything, and hit on, the most amazing like dark melodies in the guitar work. And that's, I think, what this harkens to. So it doesn't need to be heavy. It just gives you like that feeling of like, I don't know. It's like, I hate to like come up with everything being like apocalyptic or like the world's ending, but it's like, I don't know. That's how I feel. Like, especially the first song, like, it's like almost like the fucking air raid sirens. Like, oh, that's a wrap, So might as well.
There's the times we live in right now.
Yeah.
Where the end is nigh kind of is a little bit more present than it ever has been for reality in our lifetime. Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of shit going on behind the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, like, the world has been tossed on its fucking head. If we were sitting here this time last year and someone like predicted this, no one would have fucking bought it. And it's strange the way that, humanity, we can adapt to any situation pretty quickly. But it's interesting the way that everything's been tossed on its head, and it's like, it's a new reality, But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Daniel, you have anything else on this, or Chris?
The artwork is sick, and that's it. It's a great record, and it's a great thing for us to kind of wrap up on.
You guys want to?
I saw them at United Blood in 2018, and they, besides Take Offense and Madball, I think they were, and Count Me Out, they were probably the band that got the best reaction. And they were really cool, like, put on a good show. That's the only time I've seen them, but I really liked it.
Yeah, they were on another podcast talking, I think it was Axe Grind, but I can't remember. And they've done a bunch of bands before this, but then this one hit. And it does remind me of Dead Heat, like, ironically, because they did a split together. But the Dead Heat dudes were in like a bunch of bands before they did Dead Heat, and it hit. And I just think like, it's just fucking well deserved. It's like, dudes aren't popping up out of nowhere and like hitting. It's like they're making music. They're guys that are always like, let's do a band, and like do it. And then it's like, oh, let's do something else, and like, I don't know. It just seemed like they were veterans that have like done other bands that weren't as successful, but probably had a lot of merit. Maybe they like didn't. Maybe they didn't get the look. Maybe, the band wasn't as well plotted out or formulated as this is, or whatever. I mean, that's how Dead Heat was. They were in a bunch of fucking different bands, and like, maybe like the songs weren't the best or whatever, but you could tell like, oh, there's something to that band. Like there's something there. Like they're gonna figure it out, and then one day it clicks, and it's like, holy fuck, we have this like monster on our hands, And I think both those bands are examples of it that are like, two of the best bands going right now, Dead Heat and Mind Force, and
they two of the bands with the best names around too.
Yeah, for
both
sure.
Those band names are so cool.
For sure, and it's sick that they like did that split together, So
yeah.
Before we move off of Mind Force, you guys want to talk on Pillars of Ivory?
Yeah, go
Have
ahead.
You heard that?
Yes, you shared it. So go ahead.
I think it's just tight. It's like I don't really know who all is involved in it, but it's Aaron Knuckles from Death Threat and the singer of Mind Force doing like almost kind of like a modern day, like this era's Cold World, like a hip hop hardcore influence thing. I think it's cool. It's a little different. Like I really like Aaron's vocals on it. Like he does it's almost kind of like a more of a Burn style. Like his cadence is almost more like Chaka from Burn. And I think it's just cool.
Yeah, so cool. Just like dudes being creative,
I'm not familiar with it, and I will get familiar with it.
All right.
It's tight. It's cool.
Let's move to Chris. You wanted to talk on some other records, and I should just say that, like, again, these were the 12 inches that I chose. Not fucking with 7-inch format or demos or digital stuff, and especially not
10 inches.
Especially not fucking with 10 inches. Stay tuned for that podcast about the worst format ever. Coming to you soon. Our tribute to the worst format ever, the 10-inch. Yeah. So, Chris, you wanted to bring up some other releases that either were 12 inches or otherwise?
Yeah, your 7 that was your list. Like, I really dig all of that stuff. Like, those were all, in my top, 10, top 20, top 30. Like, all really good records. So it was easy to speak on them. I'll do a few Machine Gun style because I know Dan will have like 50.
No, I won't.
All right.
No, it's Bedge that just has 20 of his favorite bass players.
Yeah.
Noodles.
Shout out Noodles. Shout out Smelly.
Shout out Janosch.
Yeah. All right. So a few I'm really psyched on. Speedway from Sweden. The band's going to be huge in a year in the U.S. Just mark my words. It's kind of got like a Go It Alone kind of vibe. I feel like that kind of era of melody and like intenseness. Chew from Chicago, which is C.H.E.W. Band on Iron Lung. Their music, I don't even know how to explain it because it's kind of crazy. Like it's just like fast blazing punk hardcore, but they do a lot of weird like noisy stuff over it. But like what really makes it out is the vocalist. Like she's got like this, she has like 3 different styles of singing, which I think is super cool. Like one is like this like insane rage scream. One's like almost kind of like a sassy like Riot Girl kind of thing, and then the other is like almost like this sing-songy thing where she sings like these actual notes, and you just got to listen to it to check it out. It's killer. The Code Orange record, like I've never been a huge Code Orange fan. Like I respect what they do. They're always awesome live, but like I've never really been able to get into their records. This new one, I love it. Like especially like some of the ones where they get into more like 9 Inch Nails kind of inspired stuff. I think it's tight. Chubby and the Gang, this record I've been listening to nonstop. It's probably one of my 2 or 3 favorite records of the year. It's members of Violent Reaction, I believe, UK band. It's a rock and roll vibe, but it's like a skinhead party rock and roll vibe, and it's super sick.
It's really sick. album cover is sick.
It's so cool.
It's a really, really awesome record, and definitely worth grabbing if you haven't got it already. Keep going, Chris. Sorry, I just wanted to cut down your choice there.
Yeah, I'll try to do a rapid fire, but like if you want to jump in on these, please do.
I think that, well, just real quick on that, Chris, you shared that, and that was fucking awesome. For people that like want like the super rockin' shit, like maybe you liked the first Helicopters record, or you like the Dwarves, or fucking, you know, Zeke, just like the rockin' shit of like that genre. Like, I don't know, maybe like playing a bar vibes, but getting raging. You know, you're spilling a little bit. Spilling a little bit of your cup on yourself, but not giving a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. You shared it. I really liked it. You know, like usually people, they share shit and you check it out and you're like, oh, that's good. You know, I'll come back to it. But that one, like, I put it on during a drive and I listened to the whole record like straight. It didn't lose me. And you know, I think that that's like a good compliment for a record.
It's like kind of pissed hardcore meets the Foreskins meets Thin Lizzy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super good.
Yeah. It's, you know, I think that like given the genres we talk about, people might think like me saying like a bar punk band is like a negative thing, but like for me, it's like, no, that's actually like the band I want to see, because that's also the venue, that's the venue I want to see shit in. Like, we're so lucky now because, you know, San Diego, Chris, you talked about on the Corey pod, or fuck, I guess that's in the future. That's coming next week. And actually, even after that, the Patreon pod, you know, you said that
time travel.
I know, time travel in the future. You were talking about people loving Countervail because they came to Seattle a lot. And I feel like San Diego is similar in a way, actually like in the opposite way, but still similar, because you guys are so far away, so it's hard for people to go there. For San Diego, people just think like, oh, we hit LA, we hit OC, so like if they want to see us, like they can come to us, you know, and like don't really bother like putting San Diego on a lot of tours. But Madball and Agnostic Front always fucking come here, which is great because those were already two of my favorite bands, but it makes me love them like even more. Like, we're always a spot on the tour. And now they've transitioned to playing more bar shows, which is really fun for me. You know, it's like just an environment I enjoy. Obviously, I come from backing all ages, and I remember like bands playing bar shows when I was underage and having my heart broken. Like, I can't go to this, but now I'm 40, so fuck it. You know, like that's just how I want to see it. Like, I can hang out, have a few drinks, and then I get to see fucking Madball. Like, this is the greatest night of my life, you know, and I feel that way every single time, like seeing Agnostic Front or Madball at a bar. It's like, I want to be here anyway. And then the fucking bonus is like, instead of 12, like, oh, fuck, I got to go home. You know, it's like fucking Madball's coming on. Like, yes, you know? So I don't know. This record gave me vibes of that. Like, I hope this band rolls through. I hope they play like, you know, the Casbah or something like that. And I can go have some drinks and watch them. Because I just want to see them. Yeah. And back to your list, Chris.
Let's see. There's a hip-hop record, a dude from Baltimore called J Grams that I'm really stoked on. J has 2 Y's in it, but J Grams. Check it out. Good stuff. A few bands from the Northwest. End of Days has a demo. Punitive Damage has a demo and a 7-inch. Chopping Block, who had a demo that Bert and Aaron just put out on Satan's Side. And some of the dudes in that band are in a band called TV Set, which is a little more kind of a Revolution Summer vibe. So like right up Zach's alley.
Yeah.
And then Hostile Culture. Let's talk about it.
Fuck yeah. Hostile Culture.
This is a band that I actually heard about through, kind of funny enough, I heard about it through Axe to Grind, and I was like, it really kind of caught me by surprise. I was like, whoa, this is cool. And I dug into it, and I was like, wait a minute, I know like one of the dudes in this band. It was just kind of one of those weird things where like you find out about someone you know's band, not from them, and you're hyped on it, and you're like, yo, are you in this band? I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. I would describe it as like that sweet spot that's maybe just like a step below the ignorance of Tsunami. Like it's in your face, it's unabashed, like beat down, not beat down, but like
hardcore.
Yeah, ass beater hardcore.
It's beat down, dude. Come on. It's
all right. It's beat down. One of my favorite things about it though is the singer's voice is just so. He has just like such a cool attack. Like I don't think he sang in bands before, but like he really attacks the words and it's dope. The first song you listen like 15 seconds in and it just grabbed me because there's a line that's like soft motherfuckers weren't born to be HOSGIL into the pit, and I was like, when I hit that part, I was like, "Yep,
yeah, so
sold."
Good, so good." I mean, they're doing
thing.
just real quick, Daniel. They're doing like the Tsunami style, like, and also knocking it out of the park. And like, I do worry about like we've talked about Tragedy on this episode, and like when Tragedy came out, it was like, this is the greatest fucking band on earth. But also but also you're like, all the bands that try to fucking cop this style afterwards is going to be the worst band on earth. You know, like it's going to be so bad, you know? And like, I do worry about that in like with Tsunami, like getting a lot of steam, you know, especially with like the Triple B shit. Like the bands that come out and try to emulate this, it's going to be fucking terrible because they're not going to have like that nuance, you know, but
they're going to believe their toughness, and that's what's going to be lost on it, because what makes this so special is these are hard lyrics that could be off-putting to some people if you didn't have that extra little bit of knowledge that I've heard this from you, Chris, and that the singer is queer and is like speaking on it in these lyrics, and it makes it so fucking sick. It's like, don't try it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a powerful statement, because if that level wasn't attached to it, it would somewhat be like, if this is your only output, like, but it's the fact that it's coming from a place of, no, I'm fucking hostile because of so much treatment, and let me just tell you, like, you think you can bully certain people, well, it ain't fucking happening here.
Yeah, that's ill. That takes it to like the next level. But I do think that the songs stand on their own too. That just makes it like even more special and rad, you know. But it's not like, I don't know. It's not.
Oh, it's not what sells it, but it's the thing that makes me read the lyrics and understand that they're coming from a deeper place than it just being like, "Yo, motherfucker, you've been talking shit." Those kind of lyrics, we don't need to hear those anymore, really, without some kind of creative spin on it. Whereas this is harkening back to the records that only came on CDs in 1998, and the lyrics are all like that, but they're actually pointed with a purpose, and that's what makes it so rad and hard to kind of touch on the tangible nature of it. Whereas if it was just rehash of stuff from 1998 again, I might not pay attention. But as Chris says, the HOSTIL part is worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, so sick, dude. Everyone's got.
And you don't have to wait long for it either. Like they come right out the gates with it.
Yeah,
sick.
Yeah, the band's sick, dude. That was one I was. I don't know, Chris. You got good taste, dude. Everything you share with me, I'm fucking stoked on it.
Well, I have to say that Chris, Modern Mike in San Diego, and Zach, you three are the people that are keeping me at least aware of things a lot more because, unless I'm at shows and checking bands out, some of this stuff coming across my purview is not going to happen as much without your guys' input, like actually nudging me in that direction. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's hardcore, right? You gotta tell each other what's happening. It's hard to keep up with everything. I need all the help I can get. So, Chris, we have anything else on the list?
Yeah, I have two more that I want to spend a little bit more time on. Two of my favorite releases of the year are not even really releases. They're singles or teasers for upcoming releases. But One Step Closer is maybe my favorite band right now. They do like that Turning Point vibe thing, and they do it so well, and they do it with their own flavor. And that EP that came out last year, I loved it. They dropped a single this year, and a Turning Point cover actually, and it's so good. Like there was straight up literally at least a month where I was listening to this literally every day. I would listen to this song, and I'm just like, I need more. It's an awesome song. It's everything that I loved about this band, but they add like a little bit of a new twist where there's a actual singing part. And I don't know if it's like one of the other members of the band or a guest vocalist, but it's really cool. Have you guys heard the song "Lead to Grey"?
Yeah,
I have not.
Yeah, you turned me onto this band, and I have listened to it repeatedly, and for all the reasons you're explaining, like Turning Point influence being at the top of the list is going to make me excited anyway.
Well, and they chose the best Turning Point song to cover.
Yeah, and they crushed it too. Like
the best Turning Point song is "Face Up."
Oh, well, you could be right, Danny. You might have me there. You're right.
The mosh part maybe pushes it over, but
yeah.
But yeah, they crushed the cover too. Like the first time I heard it, I was kind of not super sold on it because he does a little bit of different things here and there, and that will sometimes catch you by surprise. But the more I listen to it, like he does it so well that it's awesome. So respect.
Cool. And the final one.
Yeah. So the last one I want to talk on is I've been listening to this One Step Closer song, like I said, for like a month straight because it's hitting this spot that I'm just not getting from a lot of the other hardcore that I listen to, and that's just like this really kind of emotional tinge, like melody. And I found another. Well, I didn't find them; they're a pretty big band. But Be Well is the singer of Battery's new band. Dalbec from Bane is in it. It's got I think a couple people from like Darkest Hour and Fairweather, so they're like a total like super group band. But they dropped a single a couple months back. I listened to it. Let me back up. I loved Battery. Like there was a point in my life where Battery was probably my favorite band for like 3 years straight. After Until the End came out, I loved I always loved McTernan's lyrics and his kind of like take on things. Very comparable to Sweet Lance from Faded Gray. He just kind of like approaches things with a real earnest style and isn't afraid to kind of sing about things that are a little bit outside of the box. So that's why I always loved Battery. First time I heard Be Well, I was like, this is cool. Like this is post Battery. Like I dig it. Will check it out again soon. Or, I will check it out again. But then I didn't really check it out again for a while. It was probably like a month later I really sat down with it, and they had a couple more singles. I think they have 4 singles out by now. And, one day I just kind of listened to them and I couldn't stop listening to them. Like I listened to those 4 songs on repeat probably like 12 times. And I just love it. I think it's better than Battery. Like at this point,
No, really?
Yeah, I love it. I think the music is I mean, it's more modern, obviously. The recording's a lot more professional and full. They do a lot of melodic stuff that gives it a little bit more of a dimension. But again, the thing that I think is that really makes us stand out is the same thing that what we were talking about with Walter before. Like, the lyrics are insanely good. Like, he hits a lot of deep, like, depression topics. The lyrics for Confessional, like, check them out. Like, Google those lyrics, or I think on their Instagram they have, like, you can scroll down and find a video that has like a lyric video. It's super heavy. Like, it's basically the song about how much he loves his daughter and, like, wants to protect her from the world, and, like, at the same time he is someone who struggled with depression, and he just wants more than anything for her to never have to feel like the way that he's felt at times in his life, and that fear that dark piece of him is, like, potentially something that he could have physically handed down to her, like, through his genes. It's a heavy song, and it's just awesome. Like, and the thing that punctuates the lyrics for me is, like, he actually sings some parts on it, like, and so it gives it a little bit of a different layer than Battery, but he still has that thing from Battery where, like, he'll hit certain syllables with such, like, emotion dripping from the words, where it almost sounds like that phrase is, like, the most important thing that he'll ever, like, sing. And I think that's what really grabs me about it. So these 4 songs are sick. I'm really psyched to hear their LP. It comes out, I think, in like 2 weeks. So by the time this podcast drops, it might be just around the corner. Check it out if you have it. If you have and you weren't feeling it, check out again, like I did, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
Daniel, do you have anything on Be Well?
I did the same thing Chris did. I checked out originally and was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. And I haven't done the circle back. So Chris is a very smart person, so I will do the due diligence and go back and check it out again. And then everyone should check out Chris's band, Change. If we're talking on emotionally driven hardcore, that's some flag bearer shit too.
Yeah, everyone's got to order that Change record. Don't sleep on it. That is the main takeaway from this podcast, is order the Change record. You can go to, they got it at Death Wish and at Rev.
Yep. Yeah, Rev has like a exclusive cover or a exclusive color. It did like 200 on gold.
Yeah, so you can go to revhq.com, you can go to deathwishinc.com and handle business. Get that Change record. You're better off going to one of those websites than trying to Google Change. They're as hard to Google as the band The Fight. That one's hard to find too. So all this stuff, you can check it out in the playlist for the episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And do you guys have anything else before we wrap up?
No, it's just great to discuss, because, we all love discussing the past. It's great to discuss the present / future.
Yeah, there's going to be so much good shit this year coming out, too. I know Dead Heat's working on it.
Retaliate.
Yeah, that Change record's coming.
On that.
But Retaliate's coming in probably November. We got the test presses. Super stoked on it. It's my favorite record we've done. And on
the best label.
On the best label, Indecision Records. Yeah, and if we don't sell through the first press, I'm quitting the podcast. So that's what's happening. So we gotta
Well, if the Narcore comp blows out like so fast, so will Retaliate.
Yeah, hopefully. A lot of bands on the Narcore comp. We that was a great accomplishment to blow through the first press, and the second press is cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. that was a labor of love. It takes so long to put a project like that together, and I think we did a good job. And yeah, first press is gone. Second press is up. You can go to indecisionrecords.com, order the second press of the Narcor comp, and it's sick. It's 50-50 vinyl, cardinal and gold for Nard High. And I graduated on independent study, so I kind of graduated from there. But, you know.
You put in your time.
I put my time. I went a good 2.5 years before I stopped going. But yeah, so check that shit out. And yeah, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you, Daniel and Chris, for helping me out. And
No
that's
problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.